Tonight, people head to the polls for 3 by-elections.
I think it is my responsibility, actually.
And local politicians aren't feeling too hot about the federal government's new environmental plan to get the country to net zero. Plus, Regina Little Leaguers are big champions.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Thursday, August 10th. CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Hello, I'm Natasha Lipney, and thank you for joining us. We start tonight's show at a polling station in Regina Walsh Acres. It's one of 3 constituencies in the Regina area that has a by-election coming to a close this evening. Alexander Kwan joins us live. Alexander, how's it going out there?
Good evening, Natasha. I'm outside of New Hope Lutheran Church on McIntosh Street. In just a few hours, polling stations like the one behind me will close in a trio of by-elections, all of which are playing out in the Regina area. Up for grabs are the 3 constituencies, Regina Walsh Acres, Regina Coronation Park, and Lumsden Morse. All 3 were held by the SAS party until they were vacated, and in just a few hours, if everything goes correctly, we'll know who is taking over those seats.
So, Alexander, what stands out in particular about these by-elections?
Well, experts tell us that it's important for parties to motivate their base and supporters and make sure they give them a reason to go to the polls. That's especially important in these by-elections. Because if you look around, it's not hard to tell that it's the middle of August in Saskatchewan. And that means that people may be away, they may be on vacation, they may not be paying attention to the political landscape. And that means thinner margins and a lower voter turnout, which can determine who takes the seat. These 3 by-elections are actually historic. It's the first time in 85 years that any by-election has been held in Saskatchewan in August.
And the question everyone is wondering, how long until we get those results?
Well, Michael Boda, Elections Saskatchewan's chief electoral officer, spoke with media on Wednesday. He gave us a rundown of the new technology that are being used in these by-elections. In the 2 Regina-based constituencies, we could see the first results come in about 15 to 20 minutes after polls close at 8 p.m. That's mostly because Elections Saskatchewan says they'll be using new vote counting machines, which tally up paper ballots in 2 of the Regina constituencies, Regina Walsh Acres and Regina Coronation Park. Things will unfold a little bit slower in Lumsden Morse due to its larger geographical area and the fact that hand counting will take place at a few of those polling locations in that constituency. Boda said he expects these by-elections to essentially be a microcosm of what residents across the province could see in next year's general election. Natasha?
Thanks for that, Alexander. Be sure to tune in at 11 o'clock when Alexander will be back with those results. Now on to federal politics. The federal government has unveiled its plan to make Canada's electrical grid net zero. Officials say it's essential for the economic and environmental health of the country. But the plan is drawing criticism. The CBC's Marina von Stackelberg has more.
Canada's electrical grid is already one of the cleanest in the world. 84% of electricity production emits no greenhouse gases. Now a plan from the federal government to make the entire grid even cleaner in 12 years.
We know that what we're doing is not enough, because what we're doing leads to the type of summer we've seen in Canada in terms of climate impact and all around the world. So we need to do more.
Experts say demand for electricity in Canada could double in the next 3 decades.
Getting serious about climate change means using more electricity. It's the most important thing we have to do. So ensuring that our systems are ready, that they're ready with plentiful, affordable, clean power is absolutely essential 21st century economic investment.
There will be exemptions, like for remote communities that rely on diesel. Electricity providers will also still be allowed to use natural gas and diesel, but they will have to offset their emissions.
I think the good thing about how well these regulations are designed is that they provide policy certainty to industry, investors, and communities so that they can plan. And at the same time, they give flexibility to provinces.
But the provinces of Alberta and Saskatchewan say the regulations disregard how electricity is made in their provinces.
An arbitrary target of 2035 for a net zero electricity grid is completely unrealistic. It's also unconstitutional. And of course, it impedes the affordability and reliability of our grid for everyday Albertans.
Electricity providers say they are on board with the new rules.
They are very stringent, and so there will be a process for us and with government over the coming months to make sure that we can get them right to build the system that Canadians need.
Canada's Environment Minister says 12 years is plenty of time for utilities and provinces to build the clean electricity grid that's needed. And there will be money to help them do that. Over the next decade, Ottawa has earmarked $40 billion. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
Politicians on both sides of the Saskatchewan legislature are calling those new net zero targets unrealistic. But one environmental expert says those attitudes could cause our province to be left behind in the new economy. The CBC's Jason Warwick has more.
Saskatchewan politicians reacted swiftly today to the federal government announcement on carbon goals. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe repeated his earlier criticism. In a statement, Moe said electricity generation is clearly under provincial jurisdiction and the goals are unrealistic. He said, "We will not ask our residents to pay the extraordinary price for the federal government's divisive policies, nor will we risk the integrity of our provincial power grid to defy the laws of thermodynamics." NDP leader Carla Beck also issued a statement. She says the goals may have been achievable at one point, but they aren't anymore because of Premier Moe's foot-dragging on the issue. But one expert says they're both wrong.
It's just, I think, being used as a political, weapon or talking point to continue this divide between the federal government and the provincial government. But that's not at all what we need to do. What we really need to do is cooperate.
Wright says the new technologies will also create jobs and help the economy.
We know we have to do this in a way that benefits all Canadians, and it has to be done in a way that keeps energy costs affordable. So I think the economy is a sustainable and bright future economy if we decarbonize.
Wright hopes Saskatchewan leaders will make decisions based on facts, not politics. And if that happens, he says the choice will be clear if politicians do want to leave a better earth for their children and their grandchildren. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Saskatoon's report card on homelessness is out, and it presents a bleak picture. It pins the rise in homelessness on socio-economic factors, the impacts of colonialism, and changes to social assistance programs. CBC's Aishwarya Duda has the details.
Homelessness is rising disproportionately in Saskatoon. The 2022 report shows there were 550 people without a roof over their heads, and more than 90% of them are Indigenous.
Well, what's different this time around is that we have such a higher rate, and I believe there's many more than 550 homeless out there right now. It's how do we change it? We need to find some way to house people that meets their needs, not our needs.
Ais Bister says it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. She says programs need to be personalized for those who want to be housed and those who don't. The need for mental health and addiction services should also be considered.
Cancel that SIS program so landlords can receive the rent and utilities, because those are two of the biggest barriers to housing.
Advocates say changes to Saskatchewan's social assistance program are also contributing to the problem. The Saskatchewan Income Support Program was meant to make people more self-sufficient, but some believe it's left many people scrambling for help. Rather than having rent checks paid directly to their landlords, the new program gives people a monthly check to pay their utilities, food, and rent bills. Advocates say people on the new program are being set up to failure.
When I see it every day, of course it affects me.
86% of those without a home are also dealing with substance abuse issues.
It's a sad number, but the reality is it's probably higher than that. When people are self-reporting their addiction, often people underreport because of the other barriers that they face if they admit that they're struggling with addiction.
Denny says rental housing in Saskatoon costs too much for people on social assistance. Advocates are calling for affordable and safe housing, along with the essential supports and programs. Denny also wants to see better transit that would allow people to get to the places they need to access those services. Ashwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
This next story contains distressing details. The English River First Nation has found what appears to be dozens of grave sites near a former residential school. 2 years ago, the First Nation started searching with ground-penetrating radar in and around the cemetery at the former Beauval Indian Residential School. Today, it announced it found 83 areas of interest, along with 56 historical headstones. Some of those headstones have nothing beneath them, and that's under investigation too. English River First Nation says it will provide more information on its findings later this month. The National Indian Residential School Crisis Line provides support to survivors and others affected. To access emotional and crisis referral services, you can call 1-866-925-4419. Today is National Prisoners' Justice Day, and a special ceremony was held in Regina to remember people who died behind bars. The local organization Beyond Prison Walls represents families of people who are incarcerated. Today, members placed ribbons on trees near the legislature. More than 25 names are written on those ribbons, each one representing someone who died in jail or prison since 2020. The group's founder says that number is likely much higher.
There's one on there, they didn't even put an inquest. The family wanted an inquest, and because they were the only one that wanted the inquest, they never got it. So when I was Googling, deaths that were inside, that one never ever came up. So there's how many more that are like that are hidden and swept under the rug. Nobody should be dying inside custody.
Data shows 54 inmates died in federal prisons in Canada last year. About 30 of those reported did not have a cause of death listed. It delayed sports tournaments and flooded streets, but boy, was it needed. Rain has drenched Regina over the past 2 days. Are we out of this dry spell for good? Ethan Williams brings us your forecast after the break. It was a big deal for some Little League players in Regina. The North Regina baseball team made it to the finals today against BC. Here's how it all went down. With that run onto third base, it was all over. The North Regina team beat favorites BC 4-3. Talk about a comeback. After losing their first 3 games, they won 5 straight. The team's head coach says players deserve so much credit for getting this far.
We started this program in late October, and we went from barely being able to catch a ball in October to national champions. So it's a pretty incredible feeling. These boys work so hard, and they deserve it, all the worth.
The last time a team from Regina won the national event was in 2002. Now, these young players will be heading to the Little League World Series in Pennsylvania next week to represent Canada. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have landed in Montreal ahead of tomorrow's game against the Alouettes. The Riders are looking for another win after Sunday's victory over Ottawa. Quarterback Mason Fine's shining play secured him the first victory in his young CFL career. This week, he faces former teammate in Alouette starting quarterback Cody Fajardo. Fine backed up Fajardo last season, and they have remained close.
We were close. We did a lot of things outside of football, and we were always talking on and off the field. He was a joy to come to work to, and we've been texting throughout the season and the off season and stuff, so we're still pretty close. We talk about almost after every game kind of what we're talking about and stuff, and we've been joking around about this week, and it's gonna be a fun time. Excited to see him, excited to talk to him, and but yeah, Cody's has been and still is a good friend to me.
It really doesn't matter who we're playing. Coaches say that all the time, but most of the time it really is true. You worry about your own team. They're a good football team, though. Moss will have them ready to go, and I'm sure Cody's motivated to play well. And they're a really physical team across the board, and their special teams are outstanding.
You can watch the game at 5:30 local time tomorrow. The Riders' next home action is August 20th against the BC Lions.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Employee pricing is on now.
Weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now in studio. Ethan, what is on your radar today?
What isn't on my radar today, Natasha, I think is the better question. We have a lot of activity. It's become a busy afternoon, and it starts with this severe thunderstorm watch in southeastern Saskatchewan. Area of low pressure and the warm front attached to that, bringing some severe cells earlier this afternoon. The warnings have dropped off, but we're still seeing a few of those cells just kind of dying out in the extreme southeast. But you see that next line starting to move in from a low pressure system to the north of there, bringing rain through northern Saskatchewan today, and the trough line associated with that bringing a line of storms right now from around the Saskatoon area down to Regina and to the international border south of Regina. And if you're in the Queen City and you're heading out to do a little bit of last minute by-election voting, well, you better head out quick, because within the next half an hour, these showers and storms going to start to move into the city. Those little leaguers got lucky. The storms missed them this afternoon, but they will be moving in quickly here. And we are also watching a few cells in southeastern Alberta. There's a tornado watch here for right up against the Saskatchewan border, but that's not for our part of the province. But we could still see a few severe thunderstorms move into the southwest a little bit later. Now, this all comes as we got some pretty heavy amounts of rain in some parts of the province over the past couple of days here. 7 a.m. yesterday to 7 a.m. this morning, Regina got anywhere between 15 and 30 millimeters. And I should note, in the entire month of July, Regina recorded about 23 millimeters. So we got a July 2023's worth of rain in just these past 24 hours here. Vibank and Craven around 20 millimeters, Wilkie and Outlook around 15, around 10 in both Moose Jaw and Saskatoon. Now, the rain mostly falling in the north tonight. Showers and storms ending in south and central. A little bit of fog possible in some southeastern sections, including Regina. Tomorrow afternoon, that low starts to move out, but still through the Churchill region and east central sections, even Yorkton, Melville, we could still see a little bit of rain starting to move through tomorrow. Another small system moving through the north Saturday morning, and high pressure starts to clear out things in south and central early Saturday morning. Rainfall amounts, again, this is going to be dependent largely on where we see thunderstorms. We could see higher amounts there, but a good 5 to 10 in east central sections not to be ruled out. And again, through the Churchill region tomorrow, 5 to 15 millimeters generally, and a few more millimeters with that system moving through on Saturday, which shouldn't pose as much of a threat. Now, the winds are going to be picking up, especially in southern Saskatchewan, as they tend to do on the backside of these systems as they move through. Gusts close to 60 from the northwest tomorrow in the south, gusty as well in central Saskatchewan, and then that high pressure begins to move in for Saturday, and we should start to see those winds diminish. Now, in terms of temperatures, Regina and the south staying below seasonal through these next few days here. First day of Folk Fest tomorrow, and really through all the Folk Fest we could be looking at some rain showers here and there, but otherwise a mix of sun and cloud, and then things really clearing out as we head into the beginning of next week with some gusty periods here and there with our temperatures improving. Saskatoon, possible showers for you tomorrow. Again, quite windy. Possible thunderstorms on Saturday before temperatures start to improve. We're looking for those gusts to pick up as well as we head into next week. So still unsettled here, Natasha, but we're hoping that high pressure really makes things better for us.
Okay, thanks for that, Ethan.
You bet.
3, 2, 1, release, release, release.
After a few preliminary trips, Virgin Galactic, that's Richard Branson's commercial space travel company, made its first flight with ticketed customers on board. The rocket ship launched from the underside of an airplane over New Mexico, then traveled to the edge of space. Passengers included sweepstakes winners and a former Olympian. He bought his ticket in 2005. The price now is $450,000. The company says about 800 people are on a waiting list. We'll be back after the break.
When it comes to your news, you want up-to-the-minute access. Anytime, anywhere. Get the facts straight from the source. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca for news you can trust.
Welcome back. The White House has approved federal aid to help rebuild parts of Hawaii after the state's devastating wildfire. Today, we got a clearer picture of the devastation on the island of Maui. The CBC's Mira Baines has the story.
Oh my God!
As images of mass destruction emerge, search and rescue is a top priority. Ferocious wildfires swept through West Maui Tuesday night, catching residents and tourists by surprise. U.S. officials say at least 271 structures have been damaged or destroyed as the death toll climbs.
Still get dead bodies in the water floating and on the seawall. They've been sitting there since last night. We've been pulling people out since last night, trying to save people's lives. And I feel like we're not getting the help we need.
Many struggled to get away as flames surrounded the area. Homes and businesses burned to the ground.
Lahaina looks like a bomb went off. There is nothing left. The entire village has been turned into rubble.
Whole neighborhoods consumed by fire as efforts to preserve life continue.
Everything that we've owned, in all my 50 years of life is completely burned to the ground. The home is gone.
Still early in recovery efforts, but clear rebuilding will be a massive undertaking. U.S. President Joe Biden declared the wildfires a major disaster, pledging help.
Our prayers with the people of Hawaii, but not just our prayers. Every asset we have will be available to them.
Hawaii's National Guard and emergency management officials are trying to restore some communication in the short term.
We started moving resources early yesterday to support the communications outages, sending our personnel that are going to be able to go out and help the individuals that have been impacted.
Travelers returning to Vancouver from Maui relieved. Some were counted traveling a back road to get to the airport.
It's a pretty treacherous road. It's not recommended to travel on that road, but they opened that road one way for everyone to get out.
It was very scary, I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty harrowing, and your dream vacation turns into something like this.
People with missing loved ones are urged to contact the Red Cross. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
And Ethan is back with another look at the forecast here in Saskatchewan.
And after we see that showers and storms move through Regina tonight, Natasha, looking for just a chance of showers by midnight around 15 degrees. By tomorrow morning, that chance will have dropped off completely, just looking at a mix of sun and cloud. Temperature not changing much, but look at those west winds starting to get close to 40 by the 8 a.m. hour. By the noon hour, over 50 and likely getting close to 60 as we head further through the afternoon. Looking at a mix of sun and cloud, maybe some showers later in the afternoon. Saskatoon, partly cloudy overnight tonight. I think the showers could happen at times through the overnight, but then mostly cloudy conditions tomorrow morning. Again, those northwest winds getting pretty breezy and then gusty definitely as we head to the afternoon. Not much warmer than 18, low 20s tomorrow, Natasha, with a chance of showers there.
Okay, thank you, Ethan.
You bet.
And one usually pictures elephants as big, majestic, ponderous even, but there are always exceptions. Meet the 11-month-old baby Asian elephant at a zoo northwest of London. She is small and clumsy, but pretty quick on her feet. The zoo is home to 7 Asian elephants. And when you are young, everything, and sometimes everyone, is a toy. And who's to say playtime is limited to daytime? The zoo recently caught this on a night vision camera. Well, that's it for us tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Ethan will be back with those by-election results at 11. Thanks for watching and have a great night.